can call me the Narrator, and welcome to the first official episode of Scary Stories to retweet to your friends. If you haven't already, please, I implore you to give a listen to our introductory episode, episode 0, now available on Spotify. In today's episode, we bring you 3 harrowing tales, 3 daunting stories that will absolutely chill you to your core. Without any further ado, this ghost host is prepared to lead you into the darkness. So please, grab a seat, hold your loved ones close, and please do make sure all doors are locked. Let's begin. Our first tale is entitled Vampyre. Have you ever walked into a room and found a vampire? No, not the sexy kind, but a foul creature with bony limbs and ashen skin. The kind that snarls as you enter, like a beast about to pounce. The kind that roots you to the spot with its sunken, hypnotic eyes, rendering you unable to flee as you watch the hideous thing uncoil from the shadows. Has your heart started racing, though your legs refuse to? Have you felt time slow as the creature crosses the room in the darkness of a blink? Have you shuddered with fear when it places one clawed hand atop your head and another under your chin so it can tilt you, exposing your neck? Have you squirmed as its rough, dry tongue slides down your cheek, over your jaw, to your throat, in a slithering search that's seeking your artery? Have you felt its hot breath release in a hiss against your skin when it probes your pulse, the flow that leads to your brain? Has its tongue rested there, throbbing slightly as if savoring the moment? Have you experienced that sinking, sucking blackness as you discover that all vampires feed on blood? Some feed on memories. Well, have you? Maybe not. But let me rephrase the question. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgot why you came in? Well, wasn't that exciting? Our next tale is entitled Don't Look Through the Keyhole. A couple of years ago, when I was 23 years old, my car broke down, and I drove as far as it would go. I ended up in front of an old, beat-up house. I walked up to the scratched, old, and worn-out door. I knocked a couple of times until a sweet old couple answered. They insisted that I stay until the morning when they can get some help. At first, I was scared to say yes, but I thought they were nice enough. so I took them up on their generous offer. They cooked me a delicious meal, and we all went to bed. As we passed the door to go to the bedroom they showed me was mine for the night, they told me, "Do not go into our daughter's room." I thought it was kind of strange, but it wasn't my house, so I respected their request. I woke up in the middle of the night, around 3 a.m., to go to the bathroom. I was curious, so I peeked under the door of the daughter's room. I saw a little girl sitting in a chair facing the wall. I assumed she must have been punished and did not want me to bother her. So I went to the bathroom and then back to bed. About an hour and a half later, around 4:30 a.m., I became real thirsty. I needed to get some water, so I got back up and headed for the kitchen. As I passed by the daughter's room, I was still so curious. I peeked in the keyhole this time. All I saw was red, so I assumed they must have painted the whole room red, including the keyhole. When I woke up in the morning, I went downstairs and thanked the old couple very much for letting me stay. They said it was no problem and asked how my night was. I responded, it was good, and complimented them on the color of the paint job in their daughter's room. They said, "What paint job?" I then asked if there was anything special about their daughter, to which they responded that she died a couple of years ago and had one red eye. It was then that I became painfully aware that the red that I saw through that keyhole was nothing more than the daughter looking back at me. We have come to the point in our journey together where I must ask you for a favor. Now, it doesn't take much. Have no fear. If you've enjoyed the tales that we have told today, please do me the honor and follow this podcast, download the episodes, and most importantly, please do share this with a friend. Because after all, scaring is caring. Without anything left to say, let us go to our final tale. Some would say that the sound of rain and thunder is calming. I can assure you that was not the case for our next story, which is simply titled Thunderstorms. We had just moved into a little ranch house in the suburbs, storybook neighborhood, quiet, friendly neighbors, picket fences, the whole 9 yards. To suffice it to say that this was supposed to be a new start for me, a recently single dad, my 3-year-old son, a time to move on from the previous year's drama and stress. I viewed the thunderstorm as a metaphor for this fresh start, one last show of theatrics before the dirt and grime of the past would be washed away. My son loved it anyway, even with the power out. It was the first big storm he'd ever seen. Flashes of lightning flooded the bare rooms of our house, imparting unpacked boxes with long creeping shadows. He jumped and squealed as the thunder boomed. It was well past his bedtime before he'd finally settled down enough to go to sleep. The next morning, I found him awake in bed and smiling. "I watched the lightning from my window," he proudly announced. A few mornings later, he told me the same thing. "You're silly," I said. "It didn't storm last night. You were only dreaming." "Oh." He seemed somewhat disheartened. I ruffled his hair and told him not to worry. There should be another storm soon. That's when I began to worry, because then it became a pattern. He would tell me how he watched the lightning outside his window at least twice a week, despite there being no storms. Perhaps a recurring dream? A recurring dream. Yeah, that's it. A recurring dream of his first memorable thunderstorm. That's what I figured. Now, it's easy to hate myself in hindsight. Everybody assures me there's nothing I could have done. No way I could have known. But I'm supposed to be the guardian of my child. And these are useless words of comfort. I constantly relive the morning, making my coffee, pouring milk over my cereal, and picking up the newspaper to read about the pedophile local authorities had just arrested. It was front page stuff. Apparently, this guy would select a young target, usually a boy, stake out their house for a while, and take flash photos of them through their window while they slept. Sometimes, he did more, and my stomach sank as a connection was made. At the time, it was merely something from a child's imagination. In retrospect, it is the scariest thing I've ever heard. About a week before the predator was caught, my son came up to me in his pajamas. "Guess what?" he asked. "What?" "No more lightning at my window." I played along. "Oh, that's nice. It finally died down, huh?" "No, now it's in my closet." I've yet to see the photos the police have collected. And it seems we have reached the end of our tales. You see, that is all this ghost host has to provide for you for this episode. It takes immense amounts of energy for me to connect to this world, so I must recharge. However, you can help me do such. All you have to do is share this podcast with a friend, because after all, scaring is caring. But before I go, I'd like to leave you with two things. Firstly, memento mori. And secondly, even if you don't see me, I will see you for our next episode.